Hi, this is Joyce Farrell. Let's walk through a bubble sort. A bubble sort is a way to place data in some order. Values are stored in a list, and if any pair of values in the list is out of order, you switch their positions. You swap their values. After one pass through the list, the element that should end up at the bottom will have sunk to the bottom of the list. After two passes through the list, the second to last element will have sunk to its final position, and so on. For example, take an array of names Beatrice, Edward, Arthur, David, and Cindy, and suppose you want to place them in alphabetical order. You'll set up a constant called comparisons, which will have a value that's one less than the number of names in the list. Comparisons is going to tell you how many pair comparisons you want to make on each pass through the list, and also the maximum number of times you might have to pass through the list to get all the names into alphabetical order. We'll also declare some variables x and y. To start the sorting method, we'll set y to 0. Y is going to keep track of how many times we've passed through the list. Then we'll make sure y is still less than comparisons, the maximum number of times we might have to go through the list. In this case, y is only 0, so it is. And then we set x to 0. X is going to keep track of which pair of names we're looking at currently. You compare x to comparisons, and it's still less, so you enter this inner loop. You compare name x, which in this case is name 0, to name x plus 1, which in this case is name 1, and in this case is Beatrice greater than Edward. Alphabetically, Beatrice is not greater than Edward, so these two names are in alphabetical order and you want to leave them alone. So the if statement ends. Then you add 1 to x, so it's 1, and you reach the bottom of the loop and compare x to comparisons. X is 1, so you enter the loop. Now you compare name 1 and name 2. Edward is greater than Arthur alphabetically, so you do perform the if statement and you swap them. You reverse the positions of Edward and Arthur so they become Arthur and Edward. That's the end of the if, and x becomes 2. You reach the bottom of the loop and compare x to comparisons again. It's still less than comparisons, so you compare name 2 and name 3. Edward is more than David alphabetically, so you swap their positions. That's the end of the if, and x becomes 3. You reach the bottom of the loop. X is still less than comparisons, so you can enter the loop, and now you compare Edward and Cindy, name 3 and name 4. Edward is more than Cindy alphabetically, so you reverse their positions. That's the end of the if. X becomes 4, and this time when you reach the bottom of the loop and make the comparison, x is no longer less than comparisons, it's equal. So this means you've made one trip through the list. If you look at the list is in a little bit better alphabetical order than it was to start with, because Edward has sunk to the bottom where he belongs, but the rest of the list is still out of order. So when the while loop ends, you add 1 to y. Y now becomes 1. We've been through the list one time. At the end of this outer while loop, we compare y to comparisons. Y is only 1, so we reset x to 0 so we can start at the top of the list making pair comparisons again. Now we compare Beatrice and Arthur. They're out of order, so we swap them. Then we compare Beatrice and David. They're in order, so we leave them alone. We compare David and Cindy. They're out of order, so we swap them. And we compare David and Edward. They're in order, so we leave them alone. In the worst case scenario, y would become 2 because we've been through the list a second time, and we would compare Arthur and Beatrice, leave them alone. Beatrice and Cindy, leave them alone. Cindy and David, leave them alone. David and Edward, leave them alone. Then y would become 3. We'd make all the comparisons again, and at the very end we would return, and the list is finally in order. That's a quick look at the bubble sort. Thanks for watching.